Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology Debunking Mythology. This is the place where we do Transcending the Mind experience program for executives on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. So please do join us. So today, this show I'm doing to talk about the modern science, talking about the Eastern wisdom, and this is by Fritz of Capra, the Tao of Physics. Now he says, I'm reading it. The most important characteristic of the Eastern worldview, one could almost say the essence of it, is the awareness of the unity and mutual interrelation of all things and events, the experience of all phenomena in the world as manifestations of a basic oneness. All things are seen as interdependent and inseparable parts of this cosmic whole, as different manifestations of the same ultimate reality. Now, when we talk about the absolute truth and the ultimate reality, we all look for East for answers. East means India for answers because India has the most recorded versions of a history and people. And the scientific contribution of Indians, ancient sages, sadhu from India has been phenomenal. Now, he says then, modern physics then pictures matter not at all as passive and inert, but being in a continuous dancing and vibrating motion whose rhythmic patterns are determined by the molecular, atomic, and nuclear structures. This is also the way in which the Eastern mystics see the immaterial world. Understand this. He says, being modern physics then pictures matter not at all as passive and inert, but being in a continuous dancing and vibrating motion whose rhythmic patterns are determined by the molecular, atomic, and nuclear structures. This is also the way in which the Eastern mystics see the material world. Now, you can put up a lens. I'm wearing a lens to talk to you, and I can see clearly, more clearly for the distance. Short distance, I don't need glasses for. But what you see is within your mind, because you see, if I'm seeing an object, I don't see the object just like with the eyes. I'm interpreting that object as that object is meant to be in my mind. So everyone sees the same object in a different way, and people see colors in a different way. There are special kids who see things in a different way. There are special adults who see things in a different way. Very interesting. Some people cannot read the letter B. They read the letter V. Some people cannot speak the letter B. V. They speak B. Ba, wa, like that. They all emphasize that the universe has to be grasped dynamically as it moves, vibrates, and dances. That nature is not a static but dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium. That's exactly what happens in all our lives. We perceive things according to our own sense of equilibrium. We perceive things according to our own sense of completeness, and that's what the Upanishads say. Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam Purnat Purnasya Udachyate. That the sound vibration completes everything because it balances the apparent lack of equilibrium in the world. And so our perceptions, which are built on our culture, our language, our history, our spirituality, that's what it is. Culture is all about. The when we minimize the culture, it's all about the food. See, the food is made of the same ingredients in a different way across the world. I have traveled a lot in the world, and I can tell you, they use the same spices in a different way, similar spices in a different way, based on what's available locally, and that's how the food. So food is a part of a very physical culture, a popular culture, but really the culture is your thinking pattern, your thought process, your behavioral process. That's actually culture. Like I divide into bhasha, bhojan, and puja padhati. I divide into language, food, and the method of worship, not who you worship, but just the method of worship. These three, for me, determines a culture or a place or a general characteristic of a group of people. Now, is Fritz of Capra is saying the Tao of physics. He's saying the word Brahman. Now, Brahman is a Sanskrit word. Uh, Sometimes we call it in the colloquial language Brahma. Is derived from the Sanskrit root briya, to grow, and thus suggests a reality which is dynamic and alive. So, it's always growing. Change is a constant process, and the only change that is certain in our lives is death. And I was listening to one of the interviews of Prime Minister Modi, and he says that's the only certain thing. So live life fully, do things which you want to do for others, not just whimsically for personal sense enjoyment, but do for others in the best possible way. Upanishads refer to Brahman as this unformed, immortal, moving, thus associating it with motion, even though it transcends all forms. So I really like this line because Upanishad actually means sitting down in front of a teacher and learning, like what we do here in Gurukul. We have animals here. There's a miniature horse, a cow. There's other animals, farm animals there, where we make people sit down and have conversation on these important matters, because this is the intelligence enhancing matters. You cannot just solve some mathematical puzzles and become intelligent, because that's a part of the logical reason can be taught also. But when you talk about these higher topics, which are the topics of quantum, people say it nowadays, all these fancy words they've introduced, but the original word is Brahman, and that's what we discuss. That's the intelligence enhancing, logical reasoning, mental capacity enhancing discussions, and those are the meaningful discussions for you and me to have in our lives. Because when we just talk about, okay, what's the stock price, what's the politics going on, what is going on today here, what is going on there today, what is happening, what did this politician say, what did this politician say, what does this actor do, or which restaurant we can eat, wow, food was very good. Very mundane topics, important topics, but not the topics which will help you enhance your intelligence, and which will definitely not help you transcend your mind, because intelligence is something helps you transcend the mind, not just uh, discussing about normal things. Like I always give a example, may not be relevant to today's discussion, but I say you cannot go to a Walmart cashier to discuss about Brahman or higher topics of physics, because his work over there is going to affect, maybe he may know it, and he's doing it just to make money, he or she. But the topic is, you do not ask these questions over there, not relevant questions and not the relevant person to ask to. You may affect his job performance also. But when you sit down with like-minded people, intelligent people who focus on these kind of things, and then you discuss these topics, that has a relevance for you and me, and that is a heart fulfilling conversation, a meaningful conversation that we talk about. The Rig Veda uses another term to express the dynamic nature of the universe, the term Rit. Now, Rit also comes, the word Rit. Now, this word comes to move. Now, the Vritti doesn't move. You can, it is opposite of Vrit. Vrit. Vrit doesn't move, but Vrit moves and Vrit doesn't move, because the Vritti is something which you inherit from many last births. And some people may say, oh, I don't believe in last birth. It doesn't matter. Like you may not believe that this fence is made of iron. You may not believe. It is perfectly logical for you to not believe that this fence is not made of iron. But for a general person or who knows things or who can see things as they are, say definitely made of iron. Definitely a place which is made of iron, and you with your physical strength cannot bend it. So this happens, but when you So in this phenomenal aspect, so when you actually, the question of belief comes in. So when I always say one thing, when you believe, you don't know, because belief is something which has been forced upon you. But when you know, you don't have to believe, because you know it's made of iron. You don't have to fight with it. You know? Just like there's horses there whom I've seen him walking behind me. Now this horse has a certain nature in which he works, and he is happy. He's listening to us. He's talking to. His name is Rayo, and he walks around. He has a certain way in which he operates. You cannot change his way of working. You may believe that he is not violent. You may believe he is violent, but that's belief. But the knowledge is something else. A trainer, a person who knows this horse, can come and say, okay, this horse is a perfectly good horse, and he is good, does a great job with small children to take care of them. Okay, so that's the difference between belief and knowledge. Same is the difference between Rith, which moves, and Vritti, which doesn't move, which is constant. So you may think that, oh, I don't believe in it, but actually that's a fact. That is a fact that you came from somewhere, and you have those memories from somewhere, and you are going to go somewhere based on what you decide, where you decide to go, based on your actions. And you may believe that someone is you can build, you can do anything you want, you can be anyone you want. Of course you can be, potential is always there, but will you be able to get it? Not everybody can. So ultimately it comes down to setting real expectations with self and doing things which you think can add value to others. Based on you, everyone in the world can add value. This small horse can add value, this cow can add value, this dog can add value, this cat can add value. Everybody can add value in a little sphere in which they work in. And if your karma and your previous karma allows you, you may be someone which you just be there. Ask all the people who are very successful. They did the same things like you and me, but they ended up somewhere else, and they had some other experience. They had some other success, right? So it's all relative, and I think setting those right expectations with self helps us in managing many things which we should not be suffering from. And that is a very important lesson I learn every day, and I have struggled like everybody else, and I know how it goes. So the in this phenomenal aspect, the cosmic one is thus intrinsically dynamic, and the apprehension of its dynamic nature is basic to all schools of Eastern mysticism. So very well put it by Fitz of Capra, the Tao of physics. He's also trying to understand. He's a student like you and me, and I'm also reading other authors. Even though I write my books and translations, my understanding of Brahman is it pervades. Now he has written, Fitz of Capra has written from his own and his own experience, and it totally aligns with his own version. And me reading from Sanskrit, and also looking from a bhakti point of view, because it's very important to see the world from a certain angle which you have to go to. Now when I see that, from me, that the cosmic one, or Brahman, or Parabrahman means something from where Brahman comes. Brahma comes from somewhere. It's called Parabrahma. Parabrahma is intrinsically dynamic. Obviously, he makes things move. There is nothing stationary in this world. The wind is moving, the sun is moving, the moon is moving, all the nakshatra are moving. Nakshatra is different than constellation. Nakshatra is a more Sanskrit word, and in nakshatra, like Bhagavad Gita calls even Chandra as nakshatranam aham shashi, that you should consider of all the nakshatra I am shashi. So if you look at from that point of view also, it's everything is moving in this world. Time is moving, everything else is moving. So, and the dynamic nature of this movement is intrinsic to all Eastern mysticism. Now, mysticism, anything ism in the English language means it's a mental theory. It is no reality. Okay, anything ism. Therefore, I hate to use ism for reality. So I will say the Eastern thought process, or the Eastern way of life, or the Eastern, or simply put it, just say dharma. Because dharma has mystical and practical aspects also, and it's not a Buddhist term, it's a Sanskrit term. Buddhist term is misformation of dharma, is a dhamma, based on some people cannot say R, so they're saying dhamma. Some communities cannot say R. So understanding that completely is what makes us grow. And we're talking about here science as we understand in the Western world, but from my perspective, I look at Vigyan, which means knowledge with experimentation or experience. When you have knowledge combined with experience and experimentation, then you get very conclusive conviction, not faith, conviction. Because conviction is an outcome of a science, because you've gone through that experience and now you're trying to live it. That's conviction. And when you have this kind of outcome, then you're looking for a very, very solid growth, means something on a solid platform, not just in the air, not just philosophy, or I say this and you say this and he says that. So that was Fritz of Capra on Brahma, and how it is the foundation of success, and that's what he teaches transcending the mind courses in our Gurukul for children as well as adults. So join us on every weekend and every day of the week between 4 to 7 p.m., 4 to 6 p.m. and learn. I'm learning, you're learning, all of us need to learn properly and experiment on ourselves. Then it becomes Vigyan. Thank you. Keep watching and do like, share and subscribe if you like this episode, and do let us know your feedback if you like this episode. Namaste.